happens if you forward a document to a client and someone then ends up hitting the forward button? Confidentiality is breached. That's not your problem, though, right? That's clearly theirs.
It actually is. Confidentiality between attorney and client is a very important thing. So if you're giving your client legal advice over the internet, which you can do
by way of email,
by way of email, that's not discoverable in these lawsuits we talked about the emails and all the emails they can get. You can claim attorney-client privilege, and if there's a lawsuit, the other side is not getting that email because of attorney-client privilege. If your client forwards the email to someone else, now it's not between the lawyer and the client, and that does breach the confidentiality, and now it is discoverable. So you have to be very careful to make sure your client knows that this is protected by confidentiality and can't be shared.
It shouldn't be. And David, for you, have you found, what technological nightmares or problems have you found as a result of the law?
There's a lot of different things. Clients who come in who now know more about the law than I do because they read it on the internet. You know, so there's there's a lot of training that we have to do back and say, well, you know, that's very interesting, but no, that doesn't exist. I think Jackie and I were speaking of something this morning where someone said that Rhode Island has now outlawed alimony. Right?
That's a rumor that's going around on the internet. I mean, if it happens, I didn't know about it, but I mean, so.
There was no bill that the governor had that I know of that talked about alimony no longer being legal in Rhode Island. So we have to explain to the client, no, that's one of those internet things that are not correct.
Not only that, but if a client reads that there's pending legislation, they may not know that they may just assume that it's a law that's already been passed. You know, so if they read that a bill has been presented, he or she may misconstrue that into, oh, this is the law now, depending upon what they read on the internet. I mean, I was once told by a physician that all of the medical websites on the internet, probably about 75% of them are inaccurate.
Mis or disinformation center.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like another buyer beware, even if it's about buying or
caveat emptor.
subscribing to information. Yes.
Another aspect of law and technology that I had occasion to speak about a little while back with with a judge from family court, magistrate, was this whole thing of sexting. Young kids taking pictures of themselves and texting it to friends, and it's child pornography. And those kids can be charged with child pornography. And it's really trying to explain not only that it's a criminal act or could be conceived as a criminal act, even though maybe that wasn't the intent of Congress when they passed child pornography laws, but some police departments are charging children with that. But also, what happens with that once you send it out? And the judge told an interesting story of a 14 or 15-year-old girl who took a picture of herself, sent it to her boyfriend, and they broke up. And then the judge said to this class that we were teaching of about 50 or 60 kids, what do you think the boyfriend did with that after they broke up? And one little girl raised her hand and said he deleted it. And the judge said, no, he sent it to all his friends. So once you send something out, the point is, and this is what we're telling the children, you lose control over it. So don't send anything out you wouldn't want your mother or your grandmother or your father or grandfather to see.
Well, how about free speech, though? I didn't mind sending it to my boyfriend, perhaps, and it was just meant for his eyes only, or my husband, for that matter, whoever that may be, and it's free speech.
But you've lost control of it once you've sent it out.
And as long as someone knows that, that's all that really matters. What happens with child pornography then, when in fact someone might have photoshopped a head or a body? Now it's not real, but it's real. Where's the law come down on that?
Whoever has that and is possessing that photography, whether it's been photoshopped with a different face, different head, it's still child pornography. They can still be charged with possession of child pornography or distribution if they send it out.
There was that issue last year about the little girl who committed suicide because someone had befriended her on the internet who she thought was a love interest, and all the while it was a neighbor's friend's mother who created this individual, and that was an issue too, as far as free speech, and she was charged criminally, and the question back then was, well, what can you charge her with? You know, because
what did they charge her with?
She ended up pleading to. I forget what it was.
I don't remember myself.
I forget
Did
what
the
it
internet
was.
become a weapon?
It can be. That's what happened in this case.
Yeah.
It certainly sounds like
Yeah.
that's what they're just...
Harassment,
Yeah,
maybe.
some
it was
type of
some-
harassment
yeah,
charge.
Yeah, but to the extent where it resulted in her death.
Yeah,
and
there
I'm
was
sure
some
that-
talk about whether or not that was a potential manslaughter
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of thing, but I think it ended up being some type of harassment charge.
You work with clients who perhaps are involved in technology these days. They're creating software for an employer. If an employee is working for his boss and creates something, technically, I suppose the boss owns it. If he leaves, makes a slight variation on the theme, is that legal?
Well, now you're going to tortious interference with a business, or you know, you could be
It-
taking
yeah.
proprietary
murky, isn't it?
information.
Yeah, it is murky, and
Yeah.
it comes down to, is it doing the same function with just some change in the language of the program, or is it a totally different function? I have a friend whose father created G.I. Joe when he worked at Hasbro. Hasbro owned that product that he created while he worked there. If he left and he created G.I. Jane, could Hasbro sue him for, taking the same idea and changing it a little bit? It's a close call. Who knows? You'd find out if it happened, and you'll find out if somebody created a program for we say and took it and changed it slightly and tried to sell it, as a different product. It really comes down to the old traditional laws of patent, copyright,
Yeah.
and trademark, and all of that.
With not much time left, I guess the other thing that I would like to have you touch on a bit, if you would, when it comes to trademark and someone looking to protect some idea, theoretically, the internet gives you a lot easier access to check it yourself. Does that mean that the laws have changed about my responsibility for making sure that I didn't do something illegal? Has that changed at all? Or is
I
it-
think it's just there, it's at your disposal much quicker than having in the old days to hire an attorney to do a patent and copyright search. You can just,
Right.
I mean, the internet has made life much easier.
The laws are the same.
Yeah.
The same rules apply.
I mean, they've come
But
up
you
with
can-
laws about internet, public domain stuff, yeah.
But you can check those yourself much quicker, just like corporate name. You used to have to send into the Secretary of State to get the information. You can go online and check it now.
It certainly looks like the business of law is changing with this. You're saying you have more work now
Oh,
than
it's
ever
evolving
before?
every day, yeah.
Right, absolutely. It's more work because of the different layers that have been added, but it's more interesting in some ways.
Is the law ever able to keep up with something like technology? Does it need to?
It needs to, and it does. It just is, it has to catch up. It has to figure out changes. It's always been that way. You had laws for horse and buggies, and then you had automobiles. You catch up. It just takes a little bit of time.
It's interesting to hear that in the internet life, every 3 months is like a year, but certainly law doesn't change like that. But I guess what you're saying with the number of cases that come up, it certainly does end up giving us some opportunity to explore that. I'm sure that we're going to be hearing a few questions about that, and I think that we probably should have a couple more things to talk about that next time we meet. Once again, we'd like to thank Jackie and David for our discussion on technology, and from texting and sexting to trademark, there's plenty to discuss. Next week, perhaps, we have some thoughts about what we might want to discuss. Any?
That might be a surprise.
Yeah, we've talked about a few things, but we want to surprise everyone next week.
Okay, well, as we usually say, thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you will email your questions as you have in the past. The email that I would give you is legalmatters@fullchanneltv.net, and we'll have our lawyers weigh in on issues that you bring up, as usual. We thank you for watching, and we hope you'll be with us as we continue our next discussion of legal matters.